Your dreams do not disappear because of the circumstances. They die the moment you cease to believe that you have the ability to perform them. How many times have you started something full of enthusiasm, but you lost your mood after a few days? How many times has transformed a desire into a weight that ended up abandoning it by the way? This is not a lack of willpower, but the absence of a clear path. If you seek practical wisdom, without exaggeration or empty promises, this is the right place. Here we just talk about what really works. There is a millennial teaching that says, a desire is like a seed. As much as you hold her in the palm of her hand, without earth and water, she will never germinate. It is not that your dreams are impossible, you have not created the conditions for them to grow. The great misconception of many people is to confuse fantasy with purpose. Fantasy is just a pleasant image in the mind that warms the heart but does not move your feet. The purpose is a decision that unites the inner passion with concrete action. Many expect their desires to be fulfilled alone, as by magic, but an ancient tradition teaches that rain comes only to those who have already prepared the earth. Imagine a farmer who prays every day for food, but never goes out to plow the field. Your words become just echo. Already the one who prays in, at the same time, catches the plow is ready to receive the rain when it comes. The same goes for you. A desire only comes true when it turns into meaning and meaning into action. Modern philosophers confirm what the sages have known for centuries. Viktor Frankl wrote that the meaning gives the human being strength to endure even the worst adversities. A purposeless desire is disintegrated by the first obstacle, but when there is a deep why, even the storms turn into fuel. I met a person who, for years, repeated, I want to have my own business. However, it never took the first step. His words were like seeds kept in his pocket. Another, under the same conditions, one day said, I do it for my family. Since then, his desire has become a way. He stumbled, fell, made a mistake, but moved on, until, one day, his goal came true. The difference was not in the circumstances, but in the fact that one had only one illusion, while the other had a clear purpose. The first lesson is this. Any desire can be fulfilled as long as it is no longer a toy for imagination and becomes a reason for being for the soul. There was a man who, for years, asked for rain in his prayers. Her fields dried up, the harvest was lost, her family was hungry. Every morning he raised his hands to the sky and begged, send rain, but the sky remained mute, until one day a wise said, you ask for water, but do not dig a well, ask for help, but do not prepare to receive it. Your desire needs to join the action. The man reflected. The next day he took a shovel and started digging. The earth was hard, his hands hurt, but he persisted. Week after week, he deepened the hole until finally the water spoiled. His well filled, and his family survived even without the rain. This story reveals the first secret to fulfilling desires. An intention without action is just a sound without echo. Desire only comes to life when it is linked to effort and a greater purpose. As ancient wisdom says, it is not enough to ask for bread. One must go to the field to sow. The meaning is that it resistance to desire. Those who have a reason to move on will continue to dig, even when the earth looks like a rock. Modern ideas reinforce this principle. Frankl stated that the meaning makes the human being resilient even in hell. A meaningless desire breaks down to the first stumble, but when it is connected to a value by which it is worth fighting, it becomes a source of strength. I saw this in practice. A young man dreamed of being a musician. He waited for the inspiration, expected someone to discover his talent. The years passed in vain. Another, equally talented, said, music is my mission. I woke up at 5 in the morning, trained every day, abdicated distractions. Years later, he was the one who took the stage. His dream came true not because the world was more kind to him, but because he made the purpose of his ally. The first truth is this. Every desire comes true when it is linked to a deep cause and is sustained by action. Without it, he remains a beautiful dream, but empty. But in old school, there was a student who wanted to know everything. He learned from the blacksmith, experimented with the boat, tried to trade in studies. Every day, something new began. His notebooks were full of notes, his hands of unfinished work, his heart of tiredness. Years later, he realized that he had not become a master at all. It was then that he sought a sage and asked, why didn't my desires come true? I wanted so much. I tried so much. The sage replied, you wanted to go 10 paths, but it didn't go to the end in any. It spread your attention as water spilled into the sand. It was necessary to direct it to one bed so that it would become a river. This story reveals the second secret. Attention is the main resource for fulfilling desires. You can dream of many things, but if your focus is dispersed, the energy goes away, and desire becomes chaos instead of result. As wisdom says, who runs after everything ends up losing until the little they have. Concentration transforms desire into strength. Current research says the same thing. Cal Newport calls this deep work, where you have full attention, without distractions, creates results impossible to achieve with surface efforts. I saw this happen to a woman who, for years, said, I want to learn a language, downloaded apps, took courses, watched videos, but everything was disorganized. When he decided to devote an hour daily only to the study, without cell phone, without an interruption, this desire began to take shape. In a year, he spoke fluently. The difference was not in talent, but in attention. The second truth is this: every desire requires concentration. The more you disperses your energy, the weaker the dream becomes. The more it directs it to a single point, the faster it turns into reality. It is said that in one village, a sage lived. Every day he went to a road where there was a huge stone blocking the way. The residents complained we couldn't move it, but the wise man approached and pushed. At first they laughed at him. Why is forces forces? She is immense. But he persisted. Day after day, week after week, he had applied his effort. The stone did not move, but something changed in his hands and heart. He got stronger, until, after months, the stone finally moved. The way opened. Amazed, they said, You did a miracle. He replied, It was not a miracle. It was the little steps I took every day. This story reveals the third secret. Consistency is more important than inspiration. Most give up dreams because it expects immediate results, but the desires are fulfilled where habits prepare the ground for growth. As wisdom says, great deeds are born of small actions done at the right time. It is the habits that transform a desire and part of their character. Contemporary authors agree. James Clear explains that habits act as compound interest. A small action, repeated thousands of times, generates a huge result. Charles Duhigg speaks of the cycle of habit, sign, action, reward. If you structure the cycle, desire comes to life. When a wish aligns with habits, it flows almost effortlessly. A living example of this is in our time. I met a man who dreamed of writing a book, but the years passed and the pages remained blank until he decided only one page a day. 12 months later, the manuscript was ready. He'd understood that it is not about waiting for inspiration, but about building a routine. The third truth is clear. A desire is not fulfilled in a single day. It materializes in the small acts repeated daily. A modest step, multiplied by persistence, surpasses any explosion of isolated effort. There was, in a certain city, a working merchant who dreamed of a big deal, wealth and respect. For years, he saved, opened stores, expanded his trade. But a fire destroyed everything. The warehouse became ashes. The store collapsed. The goods were lost. People said, His life is over. He won't bear this blow. In the early days, despair dominated him. But then he remembered his father's words: an obstacle is not the end of the way, it is its beginning. He returned to the market with a simple bench and some products. I was ashamed, the weight of defeat, but persisted. He made a mistake, faced debt, but always got up. Years later, he rebuilt an even more solid empire than the previous one. When they asked him what sustained him, he replied, The fire burned my walls, but not my purpose. The obstacle revealed that my desire was stronger than fear. This story reveals the fourth fundamental principle: the obstacle is part of the journey. A true desire does not disappear to the first setback. On the contrary, each difficulty tests and strengthens it. As Jewish wisdom teaches, it is not strong who does not fall, but who gets up after each fall. Life proves us with challenges, and only those who continue to advance perform their longings. Modern philosophers echo this idea. The Stoics stated, the obstacle becomes the way. Ryan Holiday reinforces, what looks like a block is actually a lesson. Nassim Taleb speaks of antifragility. The impact does not destroy, but strengthens who is willing to learn. I saw this happen recently. A man dreamed of his own business, but the first project failed. I could have given up, but said, Now I know how not to do it. He tried again, and it was precisely the second venture that prospered. His wish became more resilient after the defeat. The fourth truth is this: obstacles do not destroy an authentic desire, they purify it, separating what is passenger from what is essential. If he is genuine, he will go through the fire and be stronger. In a village, he lived a man who spent his life building a house not for himself, but his children and grandchildren. The neighbors asked, Why waste years with stones and wood? I could buy a ready house and live in peace. He said, I'm not raising walls, I'm building a legacy. He worked slowly, sometimes months without getting the necessary materials. Sometimes his forces abandoned him, but always came back. Decades later, His house became a refuge for the family. The grandchildren played in the courtyard. The children gathered at the table, and their name was remembered with respect. The story unveils the fifth secret to fulfilling desires, the long horizon and a clear why. A desire only comes true when it is connected not to a passing when, but to a deep value. What you are willing to walk for years become your destination. As Jewish wisdom says, whoever sees the end of the path supports the weight of the journey. If you have one why, you will find the how. Contemporary thinkers confirm this. Simon Sinek teaches, start why. When a person knows the reason for their actions, it supports more than you think. Mabel Ravikant speaks of skill compounding. A long horizon transforms efforts into exponential growth. I saw a recent example. A man wanted to become a programmer. She got tired, often wanted to give up, but because she was powerful, she wanted to change her family's life. He studied nights in the course of his skills step by step. Years later, he became a requested professional. His wish was not fulfilled because it was easy, but because his why was stronger than any excuse. The fifth truth is this. A desire only materializes when it is anchored in a lasting direction. Passenger whims go out. A deep why becomes a flame that burns even in darkness. Today. It doesn't have to be grand, but it must be a concrete gesture that proves your desire is alive. Start with something small but significant. One step, however small, is proof that the change has already begun. Right now. What desire are you willing to turn into action right now? Let your words be the first stone of the path you are building. Each choice, every movement, for the slightest it seems, is the foundation of tomorrow you want to live. Believe me, the future is not made of sleeping dreams, but of attitudes that come to life today. And the first one may be just one click, a comment, or a distance decision. What will yours be?